Welcome, my friends. The big news in tech today is that Microsoft is having a big layoff. Microsoft said releasing 10,000 employees. The software giant is bracing for a period of slower revenue growth. The company is also taking a $1.2 billion charge tied to lease consolidation and other activities. In October, Microsoft projected the slowest quarterly growth since 2016. This video continues our coverage of the wave of layoffs sweeping the United States. What does it mean for the economy? And what does it mean for the future of the United States? But before we get into all of that, please press the like button and leave us a comment below. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. As I am sure that you recall if you follow this channel, layoffs at tech companies are in full swing. Twitter laid off 50% of its employees in November. Meta laid off 11,000 employees. Amazon cut 18,000 jobs. And Microsoft said today that it's letting go of 10,000 employees. The company is preparing for slower revenue growth. Microsoft is also taking a $1.2 billion charge in the fiscal second quarter. That will result in a negative 12 cents to earnings per share. Demand for cloud computing and collaboration services spiked from many customers during the pandemic. Businesses, government agencies, and schools. Almost every organization that had employees encouraged remote work to reduce COVID exposure. Rising prices have forced many customers to be more careful about technology spending. And this hurts technology companies and their stocks. And it comes after tech stocks that outperformed other market sectors year after year. Now Microsoft and other technology companies are facing a new reality. In July, Microsoft cut 1% of its employees. And in October it confirmed an additional round of about 1,000 layoffs. I'm confident that Microsoft will emerge from this stronger and more competitive, CEO Satya Nadella told employees in a memo. The layoff will reduce Microsoft's headcount by less than 5%. Most of the affected employees will find out this week if they're losing their jobs, Nadella said in the memo. Shares of Microsoft traded slightly higher at the US Open after the announcement. This seems to be a pattern in which Wall Street is now rewarding layoff announcements. The job cuts will affect all teams and geographies and be pretty much across the board. But sales and marketing will be hit harder than engineering. Employees in the US who are eligible for benefits will receive a number of items. Severance pay that is above the market. 6 months of healthcare. Stock vesting. And 60 days notice before their work ends, Nadella wrote. In his memo to employees, Nadella reiterated trends in the business climate that he has discussed in recent months. As we saw customers accelerate their digital spend during the pandemic, we're now seeing them optimize their digital spend to do more with less, he wrote. We're also seeing organizations in every industry and geography exercise caution as some parts of the world are in a recession and other parts are anticipating one, Nadella also said. Earlier this month, Nadella suggested that Microsoft might have to cut jobs. I think for us as a global company, we're not going to be immune from what's happening in the macro, Nadella said in an interview. We will have to also get our own sort of operational focus on making sure our expenses are in line with our revenue growth, Nadella continued. Microsoft has projected 2% revenue growth in the fiscal second quarter. That would be the slowest rate since 2016. The layoffs are not a major surprise. Microsoft's sales growth has been slowing in recent quarters. In cloud infrastructure sales. And in Windows operating system sales. Sales growth in these important areas has deteriorated over the past few quarters, said Gil Luria, an analyst at D.A. Davidson. Luria has a buy rating on Microsoft stock. Investors are very concerned about the margins of many technology companies, including Microsoft, Luria said. I think there's been a broad expectation from all these companies, especially the ones that hired more over the last 2 to 3 years, to adapt and react to a slower growth environment and show the discipline and the focus on shareholder value that investors need to feel right now as they try to ride out a slower growing economy, Luria in an interview. Microsoft does not conduct major layoffs every year. But they do happen occasionally. In 2017, Microsoft laid off thousands of employees due to a broad reorganization of its sales unit. In 2014, Microsoft cut 18,000 positions following the acquisition of Nokia's devices and services business. The reduction Microsoft announced Wednesday is the largest since the Nokia layoffs, a Microsoft spokesperson said. The charge relates to severance, changes to the company's hardware lineup and the cost of consolidating leases, Nadella wrote. Every one of us and every team across the company must raise the bar and perform better than the competition to deliver meaningful innovation that customers, communities, and countries can truly benefit from, Nadella wrote. If we deliver on this, we will emerge stronger and thrive long into the future. It's as simple as that, Nadella added. If you follow this channel or technology news in general, you already know that Meta is laying off 13% of its employees. That amounts to more than 11,000 employees. CEO Mark Zuckerberg officially confirmed the layoff in a letter to employees. Shares of Meta rose by almost 8% following the announcement. The layoffs come during what is, perhaps, the roughest of times for Facebook parent company Meta. If you recall, Meta gave pitiful Q4 guidance in its Q3 earnings call. The guidance, and, frankly, comments from Zuckerberg basically spooked Wall Street analysts. Shares in Meta sank nearly 20% after what I would call a disastrous earnings call. Wall Street analysts have been concerned about Meta's rising costs and expenses. Those expenses jumped 19% year-over-year in Q3 to $22.1 billion. The company's overall sales declined 4% to $27.71 billion in Q3. Q3 operating income fell 46% from Q3 of last year to $5.66 billion. The verbal exchanges between Wall Street analysts and Zuckerberg during the earnings call showed just how different their visions for Meta are. Zuckerberg characterized the cuts as basically across the board. Zuckerberg and Meta are basically all in on investing in the metaverse. In a nutshell, the metaverse is a yet-to-be-developed digital world. The metaverse can only be accessed via virtual reality and augmented reality headsets. This is a major bet on the company's future, and Meta invested $9.4 billion last year. Meta had around 87,000 employees at the end of Q3. Shares in Meta have fell by a whopping in 2022. Meta shares now stand at their lowest since early 2016. And Meta is now the worst performer in the S&P 500 so far this year. Many tech companies of all sizes are announcing layoffs this year. Twitter just rocked the tech world on Friday with a massive 50% layoff. Lyft cut 13% of its employees. And, of course, these layoffs come at a time of strong macroeconomic headwinds. If you follow this channel, you already know the economic narrative of the day. Inflation is raging in most countries of the world. Central banks in most countries are aggressively raising interest rates in order to fight inflation. Despite all of that so far, soaring inflation and Fed tightening persist. And the United States is teetering on the brink of a recession. A growing number of companies are cutting their payrolls. Most CEOs believe that a recession is coming and want to prepare their companies for it. So, people are feeling uneasy about the security of their jobs. Consumers are pulling back on discretionary spending. Corporate marketers are cutting back on ad spending, especially online. And ad spending is the lifeblood of most big tech companies. Zuckerberg's message in the earnings call went over like a lead balloon. New Twitter CEO Elon Musk cut 50% of the headcount at Twitter. It was somehow assumed that Meta would be better with a smaller, quieter layoff. But, now that Twitter has set a new precedent, Meta could be seeing things differently. All of these companies are citing deteriorating economic trends and a weak macroeconomic environment. Netflix has cut 450 jobs so far this year in 2 rounds of layoffs. Apple cut 100 contract-based recruiters a month ago. That turned out to be a precursor to Apple's announcement that it will freeze hiring. But Apple's hiring freeze does not impact the research and development team until next year. Scores of other smaller tech companies have announced job cuts. Snap, owner of Snapchat, announced a 20% reduction of employees. This amounts to approximately 1,300 workers. Snap also initiated a major restructuring of their online platform. But, what do you think? Please leave us a comment below and hit the like button. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Please share this video on social media. Thank you for watching.